Hello and welcome to this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name's Lorne Brisley and I am going to be your host for this episode. And let's start by talking about a game that I did a Let's Play for, and due to the quality of the video and the harshness with which I reviewed the game, I felt like I had to do a proper review because I felt like I went just a bit too overboard. Nevertheless, this is one of the worst games I've ever played. Dear Leader. Premise of the game, you're Kim Jong Un repelling border forces for invaders, I presume, seeking to distribute freedom and liberty to its citizens. A great premise for a story and certainly a character that I want to play as and embolden. Why is this such a bad game? A couple of reasons. Number one, the worst thing you can do when you're setting out a game is to make it difficult from the get-go. You always want to have at least some grace period to allow players a sense of getting to grips with its controls, the characteristics of the game, its personality, shall we say. It's our first date. Let's get to know each other first, shall we, before we start fucking like rabbits. Anyway, point being is, in this game, the controls are so jagged and ragged and hard to get to grips with initially, at least, that you're then left with I guess that the only thing that's going to sustain me are the graphics and the presentation of the game, and these are so poor. It's what led me to believe that the game was going to be, again, similar to the thing that I thought Putin ran out would be, offensive to a certain degree, or at least going out on a limb to try and be offensive. And the game really doesn't do that either. Let's go back to the controls for a second. What's the problem? Well, if you play with a keyboard and mouse, you have to play with the keys, and it's very cumbersome. The controls don't work properly. You can try to remap the buttons, but the menu doesn't let you you can't remap anything, it's broken. So you can't remap any of the buttons, so the keyboard is out. So I used a controller. I figured that a game like this, where it's less blocky, it's a little bit more free reign, it would be easier to control. However, not so. The aiming mechanics of this game are literally directional. Forwards, up, backwards, and then at an angle. If you use a controller, but you don't use the control pad, it will aim constantly at the directions, which is next to useless in most situations because most enemies are either directly in front of you or prone on the floor or directly above you. So immediately the game puts you at a disadvantage. Not only this, but because the controls are so stunted and the only real mechanics you need to be worried about are the directions and the shoot button, which you have to tap vociferously over and over again, and shoots at a race that's like you can almost outrun the bullets. That's how slow they are. The shooting mechanics themselves feel sluggish and unresponsive. But this is where it gets me. You dropped into the first level and one of the enemies is already shooting you. You're already taking damage. Unless you'd known that there was an enemy that was going to start shooting you from the second you sat down, you're already at a disadvantage. And I hate this game because it's been designed from the perspective of throwing it all together and that'll do. So those are the controls. The gameplay amounts to, again, going through sections of the game where it's just running and gunning. A lot of the enemies just take one hit to kill. Others, like bosses, take multiple hits. The bosses are about as imaginative as you would expect from a game like this, in the sense that all you do is just shoot them as often as you can. Hope you have enough lives to be able to survive the onslaught, because dodging projectiles in this game is absolutely impossible. It's just not, you can't shoot them out of the air. Some rockets you can, but even then it's one of those things where you've got to see it coming. The other problem with the bosses in this game is that, again, they're too predictable. So even though you can't avoid the projectiles, you can still sense when the attack sequences are coming. So it's just a question of, do you have enough lives in stored to be able to survive these bosses? Leading back to that for a second, you have power-ups, so there are at least two or three different power-ups for your guns that just change them from bullets to things like rocket launchers and like a plasma gun, I suppose, which do more damage. You can collect lives and health bonuses. They don't do much for the gameplay. They certainly don't heighten the experience. These are pretty standard fare in most games. What I think is most disappointing, though, again, is the design. From an ergonomic perspective, it's terrible because it boots up and the menus all load sluggishly. The load times on this game are pretty long comparative to what it is. But it's the presentation. You've got a bunch of three-dimensional designed objects in with these really rushly drawn 2D cartoon style things, which are, I suppose, are an attempt to lampoon Kim Jong Un, I guess. But they don't work. It just doesn't. it comes across as childish and somewhat immature rather than like a scathing indictment of, there's no parody here. There's nothing that would, I even for a country as remarkably sensitive as North Korea, I don't think there's anything in this game that he would find offense to apart from the fact that he's got yellow teeth. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have yellow teeth. He might be fat, he might have a very peculiar hairstyle. Coming from me, that's rich, I know, but he can afford a good optometrist. So let's not get into the whole, let's just not go there at all, shall we? But the design of the game just looks jaggedy. It looks out of place. It looks, the one that always catches me is the flag at the entrance screen. It's all three-dimensional, yet the cartoon of Kim Jong Un is very clearly drawn in something like paint. It's awful. This game, it has multiple levels, but they all feel the same. There's platforming elements that feels disjointed. It doesn't feel like you'll go down platforms and soldiers are already there, already aiming at you. There's no warning. There's no way of being able to preempt what you're about to come up to or practice. There's no different modes apart from the campaign modes. There's not even a way to practice outside of that if you're saying, well, you're being too hard on the campaign mode if it's expected to be hard. Which, by the way, it doesn't have a hard mode. Has two modes, easy and normal. The easy mode, Kim Jong Il's a baby, because so funny. And the normal mode, he's just fat with his shirt off. So funny. But the point is, why would you just have an easy and a normal mode? If you're going to have an easy and normal, add the hard mode in, or here's an idea, have a normal and hard mode. At least give gamers some sense of achievement at playing this goddamn game. But nevertheless, there are multiple levels, there are a boss at the end of each level. Apparently there's multiple playable characters, but I sure as shit ain't playing this game multiple times to play it through as different characters. Again, this game just feels broken. It feels cobbled together, it feels half-assed, it feels uninspired, and it's just not fun. The amount of times I had to take run-ups to playing this game because I realized how bad it was while I was playing it is unbelievable, but I'm clearing my backlog and this was an easy one to clear because when I realized, okay, let's just play a couple of levels, let's just get a flavor, maybe it gets better, it doesn't, let's just get it done. So, Dear Leader, it's priced at about, I think, like 57 pence, 59 pence at the moment, usually $2.89. Who the hell is paying £2.89 £2.89 for this game? I have no idea. But if they were like me and looking for a game that maybe errs on the side of that bit of the risque humour, there's none to be found here. Avoid this game. It's a terrible game. It's one of the worst I've played. It only for the fact that it doesn't have bugs or glitches that are commensurate to things like Putin Run Out or Fear in Hospital. This game would rank lower. It functions. It functions in the way that Mr. Potato Head functions when he's got all his pieces in the wrong order. Sure, it's all there, but it looks horrible. But there you go, Dear Leader, what do you think? A 2D side-scrolling shooter game. What are your thoughts if you played it? If you haven't, bless you. Bless you and your innocence. Please, let me know what that innocence feels like in the comment section below. Otherwise, tell me what some of your other 2D shooters are. I've recently reviewed Muscles and Bullets, a far superior game. Yes, it's priced a lot higher than this, but trust me, comparatively, it's like a beautiful bouillabaisse compared to this crock of shite. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Is there any other 2D games that you played recently? In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching this edition of The Halcyon Show. Please like, share and subscribe and check out some of the other content creators in the description below. Follow me on Twitter. Stay tuned for some of the other videos that I've been doing recently. This was originally going to be a Let's Play video. I might do some more Let's Plays depending on what other videos I've got coming up in relation to reviews of games that I've played thoroughly enough to review or games that I just want to touch on and move on. This game was a game that I was going to touch and move on, but I felt like I was going to be too harsh on it in the Let's Play. I might release that if the footage holds up. It probably won't, so I won't. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime though, thank you very much again for watching. My name's been Lorne Risley. I hope you're taking care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Halcyon Show.